Is joint pain or stiffness affecting your quality of life? I personally suffered from knee and lower back pain from my training and hobbies. Since I started taking a scoop of Native Path's collagen every day, I noticed a significant improvement in my joint health. I am able to do more things I enjoy with those I love and care about. I personally recommend everyone try Native Path's collagen for joint recovery and for a variety of other health benefits. Native Path has generously offered all of our listeners 15% off by simply entering the code AISA15 at checkout. That's code AISA15 for 15% off your entire purchase. All of Native Path's products are high purity, organic, grass-fed, and clean. So check out all of the great products they have available at their website, nativepath.com.
Now, what was the final result of this? What were the injuries that you sustained?
Well, I was burned. I sustained 3rd and 4th degree burns over 20% of my body. So I had burns right down to the bone on my right knee, my right scapula, and my right elbow.
Yeah.
I also suffered a broken right forearm, and I think I broke 3 transverse processes in my spine.
Wow.
Along with some broken ribs and I'm sure a concussion.
Jeez.
So how long, Mitch, were you in the hospital healing before you were able to head home?
I was in a burn unit for 6 weeks. Transferred to the rehab unit at upstate for 2 more weeks, where basically rehab, you go to OT, PT twice a day, you do dressing changes and kind of, you know, my wife Amy learned a lot of wound care because she was the one that was going to be taking care of me when I got home. So she got real up close and personal and changed my dressings daily because I would have to go to, I mean, if you talk to anybody who's ever had significant burns and spent any time in the burn unit, they talk about the tub. Mm-hmm. Basically, it's just a stainless steel tub where they take you to, clean your wounds. They pick you up and put you in this tub, and with all your dressings on, because as the dressings soak, they actually, they fall off the wound instead of sticking. So it makes that part a little easier. But then they'll take a washcloth and some kind of medicated soap and just scrub your wounds. And for me, it was actually nice. I enjoyed it, much as you can enjoy something like that, I suppose. And I think maybe because my burns were so deep, I didn't have a lot of nerves left where I was burned. But for some people that don't have quite so significant burns, it's excruciating to do that treatment every day.
Wow. So you're, I don't think you've mentioned this yet, but you had quite the injury and burns on was it your right arm?
Yep.
So what decision with that, Mitch, did they have to make, and at what time in your hospital stay with your arm there?
Right. Well, after they brought me out of the induced coma, I was still, on a lot of pain medicine. So I was kind of loopy for a few days after that. But when I was able to really regain consciousness and understand what was going on, they presented me and while I was in the coma, they were, taking me to surgery to do debridements, which means they basically remove all the dead tissue that had been burned, nerves, muscle, whatever, skin, anything that's left that's dead, they need to get rid of. Because as you can imagine, with open wounds in a hospital setting, infection is a real concern. Mm-hmm. But basically, they presented me with 2 options. They said, okay, your right arm at the elbow is completely, gone. I mean, I can show you pictures. The only thing that you really see are like 2 bones coming together. The nerves are gone. Muscle tissue's gone. Anything you need for like a functioning arm is not really there. So they gave me 2 options. They said you can either fuse the elbow together which would mean, you keep your arm, but you're not going to have any use of it, and it's going to be stationary. Or you can have it amputated above the elbow and proceed with prosthetic fitting. So we took a few days to talk about it and consider the options, weigh the good and the bad, and came to the conclusion that the best option was to go with the amputation.
Mitch, how did you stay positive throughout this process? Because I really want to dive into resilience here, and I think our listeners are obviously going to be, blown away by your story. And there's a whole process behind, like, you're learning about your new life and habits and whatnot. And like, how did you stay positive and proactive and not get, or maybe you did get depressed? Like, how did you move forward and not just give up?
I think being a firefighter, I had, guys that I worked with were great. I mean, there wasn't, other than at night, there wasn't much time where I was in the hospital by myself. I had friends visiting constantly. I had family visiting constantly. I had coworkers visiting constantly. There was firefighters from Syracuse, that would come in while on duty and hang out for a little while. So I really found out, they talk about the brotherhood of being a firefighter, and I mean, it's definitely true. The nurses, I think they have rules in the burn unit for how many people are supposed to be there at a time. And I think when they have firefighters or police officers in there, some of those rules kind of go out the window, or, not strictly enforced, let's say. So I had a pretty good group to comfort and support me. My darkest times, I think, were at night, when I couldn't sleep and it was just me in my own head thinking about, I thought I had life by the balls. I had the career I wanted. I just bought a house, went through a deployment to Iraq, had just gotten married, was looking forward to the future, and all that, changed in a heartbeat. But one of the things that really touched me was this young kid. He was a 6-year-old cancer survivor that was at the hospital for some sort of treatment while I was there. And he had read my story in the paper, and his parents reached out to the nurses in the burn unit and asked if he could come down and meet me and hang out. And of course I said yes. And, he was, like I said, I think he was 6 years old, had survived some sort of cancer and was going through, treatments, and to meet him and, see a kid that age go through what he was going through with such positivity. And I was like, how can I not, move forward in my own recovery?
I know you these days, Mitch. You're living an absolutely amazing life, and you're super active in all sorts of like fitness and hobbies and sports and activities and stuff. How difficult was it to move into some of those things? What were some of the challenges you faced, kind of, repopulating your life with all these activities that I know you're a big part of now? What was it like to move into some of those?
Yeah, definitely. It wasn't like it happened overnight.
Right.
I always say, when a door shuts, a window opens. There's opportunities there, and the biggest thing is saying yes when people ask. I've gotten to meet a lot of great people along the way that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And I try not to take that for granted, because without those relationships, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I think probably the first thing I did was I decided that I would get involved in the burn camp that the burn unit did once a year with the Rochester burn unit. I think it was 2008 when I first did that. and got to meet some people from Rochester. And one of the ladies that was a counselor who was also a burn survivor, she was involved with the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors and said, "Hey, you guys really need to go to the World Burn Congress." I had no idea what the hell any of this was. Still actively going through recovery. I was still doing PT. I'd had some scar revision surgery. So, I was not, totally healed, mentally or physically. But I said, yeah, okay. And so my wife and I went, and it was an eye-opening experience to see, a room of 600 people where, 400 of them are burn survivors, and the rest are family and caregivers and, doctors and nurses. It was an amazing experience, and something that really stood out to me was the speaker who talked about his injuries as a young boy in St. Louis, and deciding that we needed to make this an annual conference that we went to. And the following years, I just got to know a lot of people and a lot of firefighters from around the country that were involved in their departments' burn foundations. A lot of the bigger cities, New York, Boston, DC, Denver, they all have firefighter burn foundations. And that's kind of how I got involved in a lot of the activities I am now, because I got invited to a firefighter burn survivor week through the DC Firefighter Burn Foundation. And that's kind of what led me to skiing and ice climbing and rock climbing, and just the people that I've met, gotten me into hunting and fishing and doing a lot of the other things that I like to do now. So really the biggest thing is just saying yes to different things and challenging yourself.
And finally, Mitch, how can listeners learn more about the Adaptive Sports Center or any of the associations that you want to call out now, to whether it's volunteer or donate or get involved? Is there anything you want to plug here?
Yeah, the Adaptive Sports Center's website is adaptivesports.org, and there's a donation page, there's a volunteer page, and I'm pretty sure on their websites there's links to their social media accounts.
Okay.
The other organization I've been involved with heavily the last 10 plus years is the Phoenix Society for Burn Survivors.
Mm-hmm.
You can find that online and all the socials. And I'd also plug the DC Firefighter Burn Foundation. They've worked heavily with the Adaptive Sports Center for over a decade now. And actually, Jason Woods, the president of that organization, is one of the guys who I'm going to meet here in a few hours to hunt this weekend.
Oh.
He's been a great friend to me over the last 10 years, a great influence, and he certainly inspired me to challenge myself and try a lot of different things. So
Nice.
I thank him a lot for that.
Very
That's great. That's great. Well, Mitch, we want to thank you for your time today. This has been inspiring and amazing chat with you. And thank you for everything you're doing to help motivate the next generation and, give back. It's amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mitch.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting out this podcast and, having real people on that aren't actually, trying to sell something or.
For sure. Well, Mitch, thank you. And we'll be in touch. Okay, buddy?
Yeah, sounds great. Thank you guys very much. It was good to talk to you this morning.